From the Beaver County Auto Studios, it's a Pittsburgh Sports Live and Pittsburgh Hockey Now video. Let's talk about the players that might be dealt if and when Jim Rutherford lets that shoe he's been holding above everyone's head drop in the near future. There are 3 players that I've circled specifically for this. They're actually a little bit different than I wrote last week on Pittsburgh Hockey Now. That's only because new information has come to light. Jim Rutherford has specifically circled his core players: Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and Phil Kessel as guys who are carrying the load for the team, and he's unhappy with the supporting cast. So we can remove Kessel from the list we published last week, and actually we can remove Letang from any discussion just because he's driving the Penguins' defense this season, and there's no one even close to his level of play. And they won't get anybody else close to his level of play either. So let's look at that supporting cast and the players who could be dealt in ascending order. Number 3, Jake Guentzel. He's young. He's had tremendous playoff success. 42 points in 37 games. He's been fantastic in the postseason. But if you're talking about effort, a consistent night-in, night-out effort to make the team better, I don't think you can put Jake Guentzel on that list. He's a guy who kind of got dropped into a Stanley Cup chase. Perhaps he's got a little bit more growing to do in that regard. However, 9 points in 14 or 15 games this season, he's not carrying the load like he should, especially with the time he's spent beside Sidney Crosby. You circle Guentzel as a guy who could be dealt. There certainly would be a huge market for a guy with his offensive potential and his upside. Number 2, Olli Maatta. Yes, I know fans are ready to ship him off and out of town for a bag of Pringles, or I guess a can of Pringles. But look, Olli Maatta is 24 years old. He was very good last season. There is a market for Maatta. The Penguins may, in fact, if they really want to shake things up, Rutherford could combo Guentzel and Maatta to increase his take. Now, here's where we start talking about what would the Penguins want in return. If Guentzel goes, the Penguins clearly need another top 6 winger. If Maatta goes, the Penguins clearly need another defenseman, preferably a right-handed right side defenseman, a guy who's comfortable over there, which would allow them to shift Jamie Alexiak back to the left side. Not that Alexiak has been bad in any stretch on that right side. I thought he was okay against Washington, which was his first iffy game from that right side. But if they deal Maatta, they will certainly need a right-handed right side defenseman, and that would actually balance everything out. As much as you like Chad Ruhwedel, he's a great 7th defenseman and not a guy you want to see have to pick up the slack for a full season. I don't think there'd be anything left of Ruhwedel by the time that was done. And I don't know that Riikola is proven enough or right now is there where he could carry the load for the next 65 or 70 games and through the playoffs. Now, here's number 1. We wrote this back in September. Surprisingly, got very little pushback. I think people raised an eyebrow and let it go. We wrote back in September, Derek Brassard may not be the best fit for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, I have championed Brassard. I have pushed his cause because I've seen what he can do as a player. I know his skills. Something is just off in Pittsburgh. Look, not on paper. He had, 8 points in 14 games last season. He has 5 in 8 games this season. But there's just a step missing when he plays third-line center. Now, I'll give you some inside baseball info here. I've been kind of talking with Brassard throughout the course of this season, from the early stages of training camp until he was injured. And my question always was, left wing, is it coming? Is it not coming? How do you feel about it? I will tell you straight up, when it finally happened, when he finally got dropped onto Crosby's line on that left side, he was as giddy as a child on Christmas morning. He was truly ecstatic, and I think we tried to capture that Pittsburgh Hockey Now with the articles, both PHN Extra, the videos, and the free articles as well. He was absolutely on cloud nine to play with Crosby. And he was pretty good as well. I liked him on left wing. He had that snap back that I haven't seen him have as a third-line center. Now, Jake Guentzel is a right winger. I didn't like that as much. I think Guentzel was just a little bit lost over there trying to get his footwork right, trying to get set up for the shots. That wasn't necessarily the best combo. So there's your top three. There are players that the Penguins could deal. Now, if they did deal Brassard, what would they get in return? You have to think there are a few teams around the NHL who would love a 1A number 2 center like Derek Brassard in their lineup. The Penguins would have to get, and I'll say this clearly, must get, if they deal Derek Brassard, a third-line center. Riley Sheahan is not the guy. Every time the coaches speak about him, they mention that. Every source we've got tells us the Penguins believe he is. I'm going to respectfully and strongly disagree with the Penguins coaches on this. One of the few times that we'll do this. If you look at every possible metric, if you watch the video on Sheahan, he just doesn't drive nearly enough offense. You can saddle him with Kessel and Guentzel, and it's still not going to make a difference. In fact, in the win over Arizona, the Penguins were having Crosby double shift between Guentzel and Kessel. That just can't happen. If you deal Brassard, you must get that third-line center, and a guy who's happy to be a third-line center and who can contribute some offense. That'll do it. I appreciate everybody taking a few minutes to watch. We'll be doing these videos a lot in the near future as we roll through the season and get this studio done here, the Beaver County Auto Studios. I'm Dan Kingerski. Have fun.